Hello viewers and welcome to the latest episode of The Huddle. I'm with David King, Director of Product Design at Rivalry. David, thanks very much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's good to speak to you. We recently spoke to your CEO, Steven Saltz. Can you tell me a little bit about your role at the company?
Sure, yeah. I'm the Director of Product Design at Rivalry. So my area of expertise is really the product itself. Less of the branding and marketing stuff, more on just everything that lives, on our website, in our mobile apps, anything you can find on Rivalry.com. And kind of the three pillars of our product is, first and foremost, our esports betting platform. That's kind of the core of our company. It's where we started. It's, our core DNA. And then in more recent years, we've been expanding into traditional sports betting and casino as well.
Sure. In terms of core DNA, something I spoke to Steven about, obviously your tagline is that you're the go-to brand for millennials and Gen Z. So, I have to ask you about that as well, because it's right up there, front and center of, as you said, the kind of the website, the marketing. How does that affect, so I suppose from a design perspective, how does that affect you, that mantra, on a day-to-day?
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, it's kind of something you were always keeping in mind, always thinking about what is it our user needs, what is it they want from our product, and how can we bring them the experience that kind of connects with them and speaks their language. What that translates into a day-to-day for me is a couple different things. First and foremost, ease of use is super, super important for Gen Z. There's a lot of traditional sports betting sites are kind of rooted in a history of, before they were all online, they're brick and mortar bookies, and there's this kind of long history of complicated sports betting and, insider jargon, and we try to cut through all that and just get to the core of what is the actual user experience we want to build, which is very important for our user because, targeting going after a younger audience, you have a lot of users who betting with Rivalry is their first time betting on anything. Yeah. So they don't really understand the ins and outs, they don't understand the complexity, and they're used to a much more refined, simpler user experience from the products they use. So we try to build that into our app. And then the other big part of it is entertainment as well. We want to have a lot of fun with everything we do. Yeah. So we're constantly thinking about, how can we make the act of betting not just a bunch of UI you need to get through to get to where you want. How can we make it entertaining and fun and stupid and kind of memey and speak to that kind of very tongue-in-cheek Gen Z attitude.
Yeah, sure. It's interesting to hear that because that's something that you might see in like a social media strategy, but it's interesting that that's in the design of the product and the games as well.
Yeah, it's in literally everything we do.
Yeah, sure. So you recently released also a fantasy NBA app, if I'm not mistaken. In terms of the design process, how did that work here? I guess similar mantra that you say, and also, can you tell us a little bit perhaps about, because esports is the main sort of product, expanding a little bit into more traditional sports.
Yeah. Yes, it's called Rivalry Ultimate Fan. And we just released it earlier this year. It's mostly available in our Southeast Asia markets. And we love, most of us who work at Rivalry are gamers, and so are our audience, but we also love sports. And basketball in particular is the fastest growing sport for Gen Zs right now. Okay. So we kind of saw a big opportunity in our sports space to really focus on basketball. And we've seen good success there. So the app itself, it's actually a partnership with Low6. It's a company that we've worked with a lot. So they did the development for the app, and we kind of worked with them hand in hand on the design. And it's really cool. It's got the same kind of philosophy, built to be entertainment. It's free to get into. We're not looking to over monetize it. It's really about building our brand and offering more value from the Rivalry brand. And it's kind of a combination of a kind of a card collection game and a fantasy app. Okay. So it's not just traditional fantasy. It's also got the aspect of earning packs of cards and opening up your packs and building your collection of players, and then using those cards to build your fantasy roster. Yeah,
I mean, certainly packs and opening players and stuff like that, that's something that comes from sort of video games and computer games as well. So you've also recently released an original casino game. That's not something every operator necessarily does. That's something they might go to for a supplier. Given everything we've said already, I'm interested in the design process from, I guess, 2 points of view. How have you built that casino game for, I guess, a younger audience, but also maybe was there an element of attracting the esports fan within that game?
Absolutely, yeah. It's our foray into casino was a really interesting one because we, from the beginning we knew we had plans to get into that space, but it took us kind of a while to get there because we really wanted to focus on the esports betting platform for the first 4 years of the company. That's all we did. We built an amazing esports betting platform, and we didn't touch casino until we were kind of comfortable to move into that space, and we felt we had a good product. And then when we got there, we kind of looked at the space and was like, how can we take an audience that has such a high level of expectation for entertainment, a gaming audience who plays AAA video games, and get them interested in, these slots and, third-party casino games, which are innately a lot simpler, a lot smaller, a lot less attractive. So, as we kind of moved into casino, on top of building a really, really cool casino experience that I urge everyone to go check out, I won't go too deep into that right now, we also knew we wanted original content. We wanted something on top of third-party games that nobody else had. So that was kind of the driver behind that. When it came to Cash and Dash, which is the game that we released this year, it was kind of a combination of a lot of things. Some of the pillars that we have on our games team is, build for the next generation of players, but also, make it social. We want everything we do to be kind of social interactive and really strive for next level entertainment. So kind of looking above the current standard that's across the casino gaming space and build something that's more interactive, that has better graphics, that feels cooler, feels more fun. So those are the kind of pillars that we went into it with. And then we did a lot of user research for this. We kind of, built a simple prototype, a simple concept, and, we put that in front of users and just kind of collect as much feedback as we could. We really wanted to focus in on, what's the right pace of the games that they want? What's the right speed of these games? And a big one we really landed on was, agency. It's sometimes hard to create a sense of agency in, RNG-based casino games where the user feels like their choice matters. Even if deep down in the mechanics of the game, it matters very little, making sure that feeling is at the forefront is super, super important. So that was kind of the basis of how we arrived. And then once we kind of had the core mechanics of the game, we kind of did the same exercise again for style and branding. How can we make this game feel really cool? How can we kind of build it up to have that appeal and have those graphics and have that, that experience that makes you go kind of wow as you're playing it. And we kind of landed on, we kind of call it the Rivalry original IP, which kind of ties into a lot of our branding and marketing, where we have we have these different characters that show up through our marketing at events and things like that. And we kind of built that into the game as well. So we kind of, really feeds into that Rivalry brand loop and something our users are familiar with and kind of, meme about and joke about online. So it all kinds of ties into that.
Sure. On a similar note, there might be some crossover. Can you tell us a little bit about Casino.exe?
Yeah. So Casino.exe is something that it's something that I'm very passionate about. It's a very cool project that we got to work on. And it goes back to the point where, that point when we decided to enter the casino space for the first time. And we kind of looked at the landscape, and it was very homogenous. Almost everybody, every operator out there had the exact same solution. They all were doing, the grid of third-party casino games. And we looked at it and we're like, this is not going to speak to our audience at all. We saw an opportunity to build something really cool and really interesting with our casino. So, at the time, we were really, really lucky that we had such a well-defined audience. We knew who our audience was.
So that might make it easier in some aspects.
It does, yeah. And you can kind of look at, if you really understand your audience, you can find cool opportunities. And Casino.exe was one of them. So kind of what we did is we knew our audience was, mid to late 20s was the primary age group. And we knew they all had a passion for video games and esports. So we kind of wanted to tap into that reverence for the video game industry and that reverence for esports. And we looked at what is the root of esports? Where did it begin? Where did these our players now? Where did they start playing video games? And we kind of landed on the late '90s, early 2000s PC gaming ecospace. This is the space where unlike Gen X and millennials who may probably started playing on Nintendo and arcades, it was really in the esports space. It was really these PC games that our community had this reverence for. So we kind of said okay, the metaphor for our casino is you're not walking into a virtual casino to play games. You're booting up the family PC to play these video games. So we built the entire experience around that. When you go to the website and you launch it, you get a computer that pops up with a fake loading screen, and it all loads into a computer interface. And it kind of gave us three things. There are three main objectives that we wanted to achieve with this. Is one, deliver that entertainment, which I think we achieved, and have that reverence for and that shared nostalgia that we could tap into. Yeah. Second, as kind of somebody who's very, very passionate about user experience, I don't love the idea of putting all these different games into our platform that all have different UXs. It can kind of get muddled and confusing for users. But when we take them and put them on in this ecosystem, this computer narrative, suddenly there's a narrative reason of why these games are all different, because they're launching different PC games. So it kind of grounded all these different experiences into something that made sense. And the third thing is it gave us opportunity to just have a lot of fun with it. A PC is an open space, so we immediately started brainstorming, hundreds of ideas for fun little Easter eggs we could put in, and we didn't get all of them in, but some of my favorites is we've got the 3D helper character who loads in the corner of your screen. He's a weird pink naked axolotl with nipples who's come to be known as Mr. Nipples around the office.
A little bit different from the old paperclip on Microsoft, right?
yeah, it's kind of that same concept, but with Rivalry's flavor injected into it. You can launch the MP3 player off the desktop and listen to some of our weird early marketing electronic music we made in the early days, and change the desktop wallpaper and kind of customize it and all that. So it's a really, really cool experience, and it's a product that I'm really proud of.
Well, no, it sounds like a lot of fun, really interesting stuff. Thank you for your time, David. And if I may say, your passion for the product really shines through when you speak.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. Thank you.
Yeah, it's been great.
Cheers. And to our viewers, thanks for watching.